Hello, how are you today? Well, I hope. Well, today I'm going to teach you a little bit about chalk pastels and how to use them. I know when I first started, I had a lot of questions. You might be wondering, when did artists start using chalk pastel? Chalk pastels started to become available for all artists in the 15th century. That was a long time ago. They were used for rough drafts before the actual masterpiece was made. The first French artist to popularize pastel portraiture was Joseph Vivien. This is an example of his work. Can you believe this was all done in chalk pastel? Chalk pastel, or soft pastel, is the most popular type of pastels that artists like to work with. Another type that you might find at the art store is oil pastels. These are made out of oil and are kind of squishy in your fingers. These are the chalk pastels I will be using for my demonstration today. But oh no, one of my chalk pastels is broken. Don't worry, there's no need to fret if your chalk pastel breaks. Even the smallest piece of chalk can make a beautiful picture. I want to remind everybody before we get started that chalk is very dusty, and though most chalk pastels are non-toxic, it can cause respiratory problems, especially in infants, and I would like you to treat it as though it's an art supply and be very, very mindful about where the dust is going. Think of it like baby powder. You wouldn't want to put baby powder too close to anybody's face because it could hurt them if they breathe it in. Most professionals have a workspace that's dedicated to artwork. Try to do this in your house if you can, even if it's the same cleanup procedure. Chalk pastels can be a lot of fun, but they can also be a lot of mess too. It's important to remember that even though it might be fun to blow all the dust off of your page, you should be careful about where you're blowing it because you don't want anybody to breathe it in. When working with pastels, it's important to remember that it's easier to start light. That means choosing light-colored pastels, such as your yellows, ochres, white, light blues, light greens, and so on and so forth. Starting with a light color helps you build layers. I'm going to show you what it looks like to start with a light color and to build layers on top of it. For this, we're going to start really simply by drawing a circle. This circle we will then fill in with highlights, midtones, and shadow, and then very special reflective light to give depth to our chalk. Here I have the very start of my circle. Look at all of that powder surrounding it. I better blow it away. I don't want to smudge with my finger because look what can happen. It's a lot easier if I just give a little poof of air and send the powder off, but I want to be careful about where I'm putting that powder. Now I have my circle and I fix the smudge. Now I'm going to start adding in my midtone. I'm going to choose a middle color. Here, yellow is very light. Now I'm going to get a little darker with my orange. Midtones are the middle value that an object has. If you look carefully, you can see the yellow through the orange. This is because pastels are unique in that they let you layer and still see a little bit of the bottom color. I put one layer down first, which was yellow, then I put orange on top of it, and now I've kind of made a yellow-orange in the middle. Next I'm going to add some shadow, which will be a darker color, such as red. All right, see how the red also has a little bit of the orange showing through? I really like how this is starting to turn out. Here are my highlights, midtones, and shadow. Now I'm going to work on the surface that this object is sitting. I'm going to choose my red again because I need to do a shadow. And it is dark. Here's something interesting. You can see the paper through this red. That's because I didn't have an underlayer. So I'm going to blend this out just a little bit with my finger. This is a blending technique. See how that makes the picture look a little bit softer? Now let's go back to our actual sphere here. I think I need to add a little bit more shadow to make this really pop. I'm going to come in with one of my neutral colors, such as brown, and add even more shadow to this. Okay, I like how that's starting to look, but I still feel like I need more reflective light now. Reflective light is the type that you would think of on a very high reflective surface, like a mirror or perhaps a really shiny piece of metal. Here, reflective light should be put in with a very light color. I have to push a little harder to get this to come out. This is an example of what a sphere would look like with a light source coming from this angle, the reflective light, the highlights, midtones, and shadows. Here's a little bit of a clue. Anytime you have two objects that come together on a piece of paper, you can give them visual depth by adding a bit of a reflective light to where they touch. This is because light is bouncing off of the floor or the table that this object is sitting on and back up at the object, creating reflection of light. I'm going to give you an example of how I use layering with my pastels. Something I want you to keep an eye out for is shadows, midtones, highlights, and reflective light. As an art teacher, I can tell you it's very important to save money when buying art materials. However, I would encourage that you buy both student grade and professional grade chalk pastels. The paper can come later when you become more comfortable with the materials. I hope this video helped get you started working in chalk pastels. Have a great day!